Let's bring in Ashish Kumar now, Chauhan. He is the MD and CEO of the National Stock Exchange of India. Ashish Kumar, thank you very much, sir, for joining me. Your view, first of all, on these developing tensions between India and Pakistan and their impact specifically on sentiment and confidence on the Indian stock markets. How bad do you feel this situation could get?
In a way, I think we think it will be contained as of now. It has been a what I call a fitting response by the Indian Armed Forces. And now we need to go back to our work. And that's what all of us are doing.
Absolutely, sir. And we witnessed these episodes before in India's history, and the markets and the macro have recovered and moved on. How resilient do you feel India's macro and markets narrative is right now?
In a way, Indian economy is slightly away from exporting the goods. Broadly, our exports are in services, especially to US. And that's where what are the current tariff-related activities in a way don't touch us as much as it would touch, say, China or any other ASEAN country. And that's where I think India is resilient. On top of that, India has its own growth momentum due to its high-tech nature of the economy and also the demographics, which is very young. So it's able to produce more on the higher side, but also consume more. And that's where there is an internal demand of things, which of course is partly met by the imports. But recently, India has also started exporting even iPhones and Samsung phones and many other things which are high-tech of nature. And also now even chip manufacturing companies are going to start production this year. So a lot of high-tech manufacturing is now moving away from China for a variety of reasons. And India seems to be finding a good ground in that area also. Overall, what has happened with UK yesterday in terms of the free trade agreement, if you would have seen President Trump's interactions on India about yesterday saying that the free trade agreement seems to be very close. So if this too happens, already a UK agreement has happened. And if US agreement happens, probably this would be first time in India's independent India's history that we would have in a way free trade agreement with two large Western nations. And that would give us a good fillip going forward over the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Indeed, sir. A question you must be getting a lot from stakeholders is the question about the IPO. And before we get into that, I want to play you some sound bites from SEBI Chairman Tuhin Kantapande, who was interviewed by my colleague Latna Venkatesh a couple of days ago. Here's what he had to say on the NSE's forthcoming public listing.
There are certain issues which are going back and forth. I think there have been
active discussion case which is the roadblock?
There is, I think that is one case where I think some solutions can be found in terms of settlement, etc. And there is a technology architecture issue, then there is a governance, and then is a clearing corporation. In these, all of these things, I think there is an active interchange between the exchange and the SEBI. And we intend to look at positively forward to, not as a, procrastinating device, but actually to make it happen.
Ashish Kumar, so there is an active exchange between SEBI and the NSE on ironing out, if you will, some of the regulatory challenges that needs to be cleared before NSE can list. Would you agree with that? And where then does that take the timeline, in your opinion, for an IPO?
The new SEBI chairman has been very, very nice and, of course, a very wise man. And so as and when we get the no objection certificate, that is basically as per the process, we have to get for our IPO. As a process, we need to have a no objection certificate to even prepare a DRHP, that is a prospectus. And once we get the no objection certificate from our sector regulator, which is itself SEBI, and then we will prepare our RHP and then we'll file it with them. Then they will take some time to go through and upgrade, update, ask questions. So it's probably after we get the NOC, we will have probably few months to prepare our DRHP and then file it with SEBI. And after that, few more months for SEBI to be satisfied with our disclosures. And then only the IPO can happen. So it's a sort of a little away, provided we get the NOC soon.
If I could press you, sir, so does that take us to calendar year 2026, or could we see an IPO earlier than that?
It depends how fast we are able to move up on both sides after the NOC is received. We are awaiting the NOC from SEBI in this regard.
I see. You just released your earnings numbers, and the issue is a fall in volumes and trading revenue, which was down by 14%. Do you think that that is going to worsen from here, or could it stabilize in future quarters?
In a way, SEBI had a perception about over speculation in the markets over last several years, and they took very stringent measures to reduce the trading volumes in the derivatives market, which was giving us a lot of revenues. And that's where we have seen a large drop in our options volume specifically. And that's where you have seen some degrowth in terms of the overall revenues, which we observed last quarter. At the same time, in April, we have seen some green shoots because over last 6 months, even Indian markets were not doing so well. And that's where some portion of the degrowth was due to the SEBI measures, but some portion of degrowth was also because market was not doing so well. Now that market has started doing well, we have seen some green shoots in the month of April and May. So it remains to be seen how it works out.
It's a very important point, Ashish Kumar. And yesterday we saw Ather Energy listing, the third biggest IPO in India so far this year. There has been something of a IPO drought. Do you think that the picture will change in FY26?
In a way, I think we sometimes in media we lurch from the parching to the drought kind of a situation. So last year, for information, more than 268 IPOs happened in calendar year 24, with the NSE being the largest IPO collector in the world at $19.6 billion for the equities IPO. And overall, we raised more than $208 billion for REITs, InvITs, commercial paper, debentures, and many other things. So effectively, India is a very vibrant capital markets with huge amount of growth. And that's where when you look at 268 IPOs vis-a-vis this year's probably 20-30 in the first quarter, we may think it's a drought. But overall, for any country will give an arm and a leg for that kind of numbers on IPO. At the same time, India is a country on the move. It's growing very fast. And that's where I think we are going to see many more IPOs. Yesterday, as you said, Ather Energy's listing is an indication, and many more companies are in the pipeline.
And we'll be speaking to Tarun Mehta, co-founder and CEO of Ather Energy, later on in the programme. So that'll be an interesting conversation after Ather's IPO yesterday. Final question, Ashish Kumar, and let's return to the prospects for short-term volatility in the markets. Yesterday, Feroz Aziz of Anat Rathi told me that there will be volatility, relatively contained. You echoed that view. Even in the event of substantial escalation, Nifty 50 is unlikely to correct by more than 5 to 10%. Would you agree with that analysis?
Yeah, in a way, India has seen such incidents over last 78 years of its independence, and specifically in last 20-30 years, many times. And it has been in a way not escalated due to variety of reasons, because India's response always has been measured and in a way proportionate. And that's where it has never gone beyond a particular numbers. But at the same time today, India is growing very fast. India is actually having newer relationships with the West, which was never there before. So for me, I would be surprised even at a slight drop going forward because of the fact that the economic activity in India, and India is not a small country. It's not a country of, say, 5 million people or 10 million people.
Yes.
It's 1.4 billion people, and it's like a more than a continent-sized country, although on a map, it doesn't look like that because of the way the projections are made on a globe. But otherwise, it's a very large country.
Indeed.
The activities in a one small area doesn't affect the economic activities in 99.99% of the country, and it will continue to grow at faster than any other country in the world. And I think now, if you can see, the foreign investors are coming back. They've come back in April. Now you can see them coming back in May too. So I think a lot of confidence on India's ability to support the world going forward.
Ashish Kumar, we will leave it there, sir. Thank you very much indeed for joining me on Inside India. Ashish Kumar Chauhan there from the National Stock Exchange of India. Indian markets are just coming on.